Hello and welcome to another Bishoujo action figure unboxing. Today we have the River City Girl Zero Ultimate Edition, and this was made by WayForward, who ported the game. This is, I believe, just a port of an old Super Famicom game that never came out in the US. And this deluxe or this ultimate edition was made by Limited Run Games. And so what's inside this box? It includes the physical game, an original soundtrack, a retro style box, a poster, a cartridge keychain, and Misako and Kyoko posable figures. And I, of course, was mostly interested in these figures. I mean, I do love the River City Girls games, so I did want the game too, but I was very interested in these figures when these were announced. But to be honest, I wasn't impressed by the prototype photos they had, or the prototypes that they were showing. It just looked like the sculpts weren't very strong. It didn't look like the articulation was very good. Yeah, I don't have high hopes for this, but we're going to find out what these figures are really like. First, let's take a look at the box. It has this window right here so you can see the figures. And yeah, there's some River City Girl Zero imagery. This artwork is really cool. It's by an artist named David Liu, also known as DS Lugi on Instagram and Twitter, I think. I've been following him for a long time. I'm a big fan of his work. And I'm happy for him that he got to work on this. He's been getting a lot of cool work doing video games. So it's very cool to see his artwork here again. He does really cool anime style, kind of a 90s, 80s throwback style, and I totally dig it. So look him up. I'll have a link to his profiles in the description below. All right, let's crack this open, shall we? Alright, so you can see that the figures have their own box inside, and then the game and other bonus items are in their own slots. This is really cool. This is the retro box. So it is a Super Nintendo style box of the game. Let's take a look at this first. Oh, that's pretty cool. I love these kind of retro style boxes. Thankfully, the Switch cases fit in these boxes really well. This right here is the mini keychain of a Super Nintendo cartridge. That's pretty cool. And then here is the action figures. So that's kind of cool. I didn't expect the action figures to be in their own box, but they are. So that's kind of cool. And it has the name of the two characters. And on the back, there's some pretty interesting photos of the figures. That's kind of cool. I like that. Full articulation. Fully articulated figures. Bend, twist, rotate. Okay. I don't know, guys. I don't have high hopes for this articulation. I don't think it's going to be as good as like a Figma or anything, but I think it's going to be basic, and it's going to be serviceable, but it's not going to blow me away. I'm pretty sure it's not going to blow me away. Okay, this box is not sealed at all, so we don't have to cut anything. It's a pretty thick cardboard. You can already see that the pieces are rolling around inside, so I don't think the tray was snapped on very well. But I do like that they wrap them in plastic, kind of like how Figmas are. I'm pretty sure it looks like they use the same bodies, because I think even in the game, the graphics used the same bodies and they just swapped the heads. But yeah, so here is is this Kyoko? I want to say this is Kyoko. I don't know who's who, honestly. I'm pretty sure this is Kyoko, though. The sculpting is pretty simplistic. This is kind of like falling into that kind of... It's like looking at a McFarlane anime figure, if you know what I mean. Doesn't quite look like an authentic anime figure, an authentic anime sculpt, if you know what I mean. It just looks a little too smoothed out, a little too formless. It's not terrible, but it's also not, doesn't have that detail. Like, yeah, there's no sculpting for the mouth or the eye. I guess there's no sculpting for the mouth or the eyes. So those details are obviously just printed on, and I think they didn't sculpt those things on purpose so that they can just reuse the head sculpt to make all these different expressions. There are alternate heads here, and I'm pretty sure they're all the same mold. They just changed out the screening or the tampos. I'm not really sure what they're using here. Let's try and do this. Okay, yeah, just like a Figma. The front of the hair can come off, and the back of the hair can come off. That's not entirely uncommon. I've seen other figures do that. But yeah, they didn't want to go the faceplate route. They went with the entire head, which is interesting. And wow, that is a terrible neck joint. Oh my gosh. Yuck. Yeah, and because that neck is so thick, it might as well just be a swivel point. There's just very little you can do there. There's very little up and down motion. There's very little tilting you can do. It's mostly just a swivel point at this point. Like, if you're not going to make it thinner around the ball, then it's kind of worthless. Or you need to do a dumbbell joint there. But I mean, again, what do you expect? These aren't professional figure makers. This is kind of a one-off kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very simplistic sculpting here. At least they did do like 2 separate pieces for the skirt here. So that's good. And this is a soft material. I was worried that this would be very stiff, but it does seem, oh my gosh. The hip joints are like right there. This is bizarre. Okay. Choices have been made. Oh, there's a ball jointed waist. That's kind of surprising. So yeah, ball jointed waist. Okay. We got the swivel hinged elbows, right? So they can rotate, and then they are hinged so that they can swing outward or whatever. Elbows. Oh boy, they look terrible, but I mean, looking at these elbows, you really wouldn't think there's a lot of motion here. Just you would think it needs to be cut more for... I mean, I'm almost like, is the arm on backwards? Is this really how much room they're giving for the elbow joint to move? So yeah, unfortunately they don't give enough room for the elbow joint to move, and she cannot... That's about as far as she can bend her elbow. Sad. Not even 90 degrees. That's very sad. Very, very sad. But again, I wasn't expecting much, especially from the photos. Oh my gosh, how are they doing this? So she does have a hinged wrist and it can rotate. These are kind of like the original Figma joints, wrist joints, where it was just hinged at the hand and then there was a plug and then it just kind of pegged into the wrist, into the arm. But I'm just looking at these extra hands and I'm appalled. I am appalled by what I am seeing here. They want you to take the hand off at the hinge instead of at the peg. That is truly bizarre. Truly bizarre, and I can just foresee these pins breaking. I can just foresee these joints breaking. This is terrible design. Terrible. I mean, why? Why would you do that? Like, geez, just do it like a Figma. Just make it pegs on both sides, plug it in. Yeah, so really bad decision there with the hands. I don't know what they're thinking. I'm going to try and see what it's like to replace a hand. How the heck do they expect you to switch the hands out? Okay. So you can just pull it off the pin like that. Yeah, that's terrible idea. Terrible idea. Let's go with some closed fist because, you know, this is a beat 'em up game. If I can just wrong hand. This is a beat 'em up game. Let's see how easy it is to put a hand on. I mean, what do they expect? Okay, you just kind of slide it in, get it around that pin. This house, just terrible. Just a terrible, terrible choice. Ugh, I don't know who they hired to design this figure, but that was a terrible choice. Okay, anyway, moving on. Like I said, there is a ball joint at the waist, so she can rotate and tilt in all directions. She bends forward that much and bends backwards that much. She can tilt to the side that much. Oops. And there's a look at the ball joint. It just came out as I was playing with it. Alright, is her hair is not articulated that I can tell. I mean, it seems like, it's definitely a separate piece, but it doesn't feel like it's meant to be twisted. So I am not even going to risk it. Okay, let's take a look at this hip articulation, which is kind of weird looking, okay? And it's way lower than what I thought it would be. I thought the hips would be up here where, you know, they should be, but I'm thinking they put them lower to avoid having to mess with the skirt so much. I don't know. It's kind of a strange, it's a very low, I don't know if that's anatomically correct, you know what I'm saying? Like, people's hips this low. Like, if she were sitting, that doesn't look natural, right? You don't bend your legs there, you bend up here, right? it just looks weird. Okay, so here is a look. There's actually like a lot of space in there, which is strange. I'm wondering if this isn't even pushed in all the way. It looks like they are going for kind of like a Figma type. Like there's a ball joint. You can see that there's a ball joint in the middle. And then it kind of branches off to the two hip joints right there. So that's very Figma-like. And yeah, these are just ball joints here. There is a thigh swivel, which is good. Knees, better than the elbows. They at least go to 90 degrees. Look at this knee joint. It's actually kind of like a Figma knee joint, or like a Figma joint. They just didn't cut away enough to allow for a wider range of motion. So I mean, I feel like they do kind of understand where they wanted to go with this. Oh, they're obviously trying to replicate a Figma type of figure here. Anyway, let's move on to the ankle joints. She has, very Figma-like ankle joint. It does rotate and it's hinged. Hinges back that far. Hinges forward about that far. Does it pivot? Yeah, there does appear to be a pivot. And yeah, this is a very Figma-like joint here. Tightness of these joints, it's okay. It's not super loose, it's not super tight. Here is Misako. And look at her face. I don't like what they're doing with the lips here. The black lines around the lips don't look very good to me. Very odd choice there. Besides the head, the body is exactly the same as Kyoko. But yeah, so same deals. She's just got a different paint job. She's got a green jacket. She's got green lines on her skirt as opposed to the blue. She's got green shoes instead of brown or instead of gray. What kind of faces do they have? So Kyoko has her smiling face. She also has a super angry face. More of a snarky smile kind of face. Misako has this super angry face, and this just looks kind of bad to me. I think the mouth, when you have a mouth like this, you definitely need like a different face shape, I think. And that's the problem with like reusing the same face sculpt. It just doesn't work all the time. Okay. Very interesting. Yeah, I don't like it. That just looks bad to me. I mean, it kind of looks good from the side. She also has a super happy face, and that actually looks pretty good. I think that this one works a lot better. So let's see how that one looks on her. Like Misako is usually like more of the stoic, more the straight man kind of character. So I get why her default face is kind of like this, very stoic looking. but seeing her nice and happy is also kind of cool. That's actually kind of cute. I'll give them that. Her hands are a little different. She does have, instead of 2 gripping hands, she does have one hand with these spiked knuckles. So that's kind of interesting. So let's put this on. Put this on. Again, this is like so bizarre. Such a bizarre choice to make you replace hands like this. I've never seen this before, where you're putting things on the pins. Just a bizarre choice all around. I really hate how you can't bend the elbow that much. Like who did? It's kind of frustrating. Like, whoever designed this, like, what were they thinking? What were they thinking? They're thinking like, oh, we care more about looks here, so let's minimize the gap here. I mean, I'm assuming they're trying to do that. They're prioritizing the looks over the range of motion. But this is ridiculous right here. It should you need to hit at least 90 degrees. I mean, and if you don't do that, you're failing as a action figure designer, in my opinion. I mean, gosh, what in the world? Let's try the crazy mad face here. And for her, this one kind of works. I kind of like that one. I think that and her normal smiling face are probably her best faces. This one's alright. But when I have it on her, it just doesn't feel as right as these, if that makes sense. I don't know. And I wish she came with a weapon or something. She doesn't have a weapon, so she's just gotta use her fists, I guess. But it would have been neat if she had a baseball bat to hold. Because in the games, I think in a lot of media, she's holding a baseball bat as a weapon of choice. Okay, so there we go. So she's got her spiked knuckles. So yeah, not the greatest figures around. Not superposable. The arms are some of the worst articulated arms I've ever seen. The hands, I don't like the way they make you switch out the hands by taking it off the hinge, off the pins. Just terrible decision. The head sculpts are pretty bad. They're definitely nothing to write home about. They're all the same sculpt. There is no sculpted detail. The eyes and the mouth are just printed on. They're using the same sculpt for every single one. So, I mean, it is kind of exactly what I was expecting from these figures. I was not expecting good quality figures from this. But this set did run $100, I believe. Let's say the game is like $40. So that leaves 50-ish. Let's say $50 for the figures. And you're getting 2 of them. Granted, they both share the same body. Is that worth it? No, it's not. No, it's not. It's definitely not up to par to a Figma, or a Marvel Legends, or a McFarlane DC figure. I've never bought any of the McFarlane anime figures, so I have no idea what those are like. I just know that I don't like the way they look most of the time. This is very much kind of worse than that, I think. I mean, there are some things that are okay. The legs have a decent range of motion. Wrists have a good range of motion. They did try to mimic a Figma type of figure as best they could with the replaceable heads, and the replaceable hands. So yeah, I mean, they tried. They definitely tried with these figures. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're not action figure makers. And whoever they hired, I don't think they do this either. If I'm going to be honest, they're just not figure makers either, whoever they hired. Because these just aren't very good. But if you like the game, if you like the characters, they're kind of an interesting collectible. But if you're an action figure fan and you want a good figure of these characters, these are not that. These are not good figures of these characters. And they're making more of these. There's going to be figures for River City Girls 2. So when that deluxe edition, or when those figures come out, and I think they'll be coming out later this year, they're probably going to be very similar to these, just in their newer outfits. And that's sad. That's sad for me. I don't particularly like these figures. They're just okay. For me, they're going to live in the box. They are not display worthy, in my opinion. They are interesting. Am I glad I bought it? Honestly, I think I could have gone without it. If I didn't buy it, I don't think I would be sad about it, knowing that the end result is pretty much what I expected it to be, just based on the prototype figures. I can't recommend these unless you really, really like these characters and really just want a figure of them. Alright, well, I'm gonna wrap it up right there. Thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe this video if you're already a subscriber. Thank you. I'll see you in the next review. Jam out.